You know how Fox has a weird way of counting Simpsons episodes? They refuse to count a couple of them, making the amount of episodes inconsistent. The reason for this is a lost episode from season 1. Finding details of this missing episode is difficult. No one who was working on the show likes to talk about it. From what was been pieced together, this episode's production number was 7G06, and the episode title was Dead Bart. The episode labeled 7G06 Mona Lisa was made later and given Dead Bart's production code to hide the latter's existence. It also wasn't written entirely by Matt Groening. During production of the first season, Matt started to act strangely. He was very quiet and seemed nervous and morbid. Mentioning this to anyone who was present around Matt at the time resulted in them getting very angry and forbidding you to ever mention it to Matt. The first time I heard about it was at an event where David Silverman was speaking. Someone in the crowd asked him about the episode, and Silverman simply left the stage, ending the presentation hours early. In addition to getting angry, asking anyone who was on the show about Dead Bart would cause them to do anything they could to stop you from directly communicating with Matt. At a fan event, I managed to follow him after he spoke to the crowd, and eventually had a chance to talk to him alone as he left the building. He didn't seem upset that I followed him, probably expected a typical encounter with this obsessive fan. When I mentioned the lost episode, however, all color drained from his face and he started trembling. When I asked him if he could tell me any details, he sounded like he was on the verge of tears. He grabbed a piece of paper, wrote something on it, and handed it to me. He begged me to never mention the episode again. The piece of paper had a website address on it. I would rather not say what it was for reasons you will see in the second. I entered the address into my browser and came to a site that was completely black except for a line of yellow text, a link. I clicked on it and a file started downloading. Once the download was complete, my computer went crazy. It was the worst virus I've ever seen. System restore didn't work and the computer had to be rebooted. After doing this, before doing this, though, I copied the file onto a CD and tried to open it on my now empty computer. As I suspected, there was an episode of The Simpsons on it. The episode started like any other, but it had very poor quality. If you've seen the original animation for Some Enchanted Evening, it was familiar, but less stable. The first act was normal, but the way the characters acted was a little off. Homer was angrier, Marge seemed depressed, Lisa behaved anxiously, and Bart had a genuine anger and hatred toward his parents. The episode was about the Simpsons going on a plane trip. Near the end of the first act, the plane was taking off. Bart was fooling around as you expect. However, as the plane was 50 feet off the ground, Bart broke a window and was sucked out. At the beginning of the series, Matt had an idea that the animated style of the Simpsons world would represent life, and that death made things more realistic, hence why it was used in this episode. The picture of Bart's corpse was very recognizable. They took full advantage of it not having to move and made a almost photorealistic drawing of his body. Act 1 ended on with the shot of Bart's corpse. When Act 2 started, Homer, Marge, and Lisa were sitting at a diner table, crying. The crying went on. It became more pained and realistic sounding. Better acting than you would think possible. The animation started to decay even more as they cried. You could hear murmuring in the background. The characters could barely be made out. They were stretchy and blurring. They looked like deformed shadows with random bright colors thrown on them. There were faces in the window flashing in and out, so that you will never be sure of what they looked like. The crying went on for all of Act 2. Act 3 opened with a title card saying 1 year had passed. Homer, Marge, and Lisa were thin and still sitting at the table. There was no sign of Maggie or the pets. They decided to visit Bart's grave. Springfield was completely deserted, and as they walked to the cemetery, the houses became more and more decrepit. They all looked abandoned. When they got to the grave, Bart's body was just laying in front of his tombstone, looking just like it did at the end of Act 1. The family started to cry again. Eventually they stopped and just looked at Bart. The camera zoomed in on Homer's face. According to summaries, Homer tells a joke at this part, but it wasn't audible in the version I saw. You couldn't tell what he was saying. The view zoomed out as the episode came to a close. The tombstones in the background had the names of every Simpsons guest star on them. Some that no one heard of in 1989. Some that haven't even been on the show yet. All of them had death dates as well, for guest stars who had died since, like Michael Jackson and George Harrison. The dates were of when they would die. The credits were completely silent and seemed handwritten. The final image was of the Simpsons family on their couch, like in the intros, but all drawn in hyper-realistic, lifeless style of Bart's corpse. You know, a thought occurred to me after first seeing the episode for the first time. You could actually try to use the tombstones to predict the death of living Simpsons guest stars. But there was something odd about most of the ones that haven't died yet. All of their deaths are written as the same day.